In the merciless heart of an endless desert, where the sun scorches the earth into cracked emptiness and hope itself seems to have died, a desperate man staggers forward, his body broken by thirst and exhaustion, his face gaunt with the shadow of approaching death. This is Nick, a lone wanderer reduced to a shell of survival until something impossible catches his eye, a patch of sand glistening wet in the middle of this barren wasteland. Shock freezes him for a heartbeat, then understanding floods through him like a sudden cool wind. Water must lie buried beneath this ground. Without a second of hesitation, Nick drops to his knees and begins clawing at the earth with both bare hands, digging with the fury of a man who has already tasted the edge of the grave. The sand yields, deeper and deeper, until clear, pure water suddenly wells up from the depths, fresh and life-giving. Days of tormenting thirst vanish as Nick cups the precious liquid and drinks greedily, the cold water racing through his veins like salvation itself. Yet as the water continues to rise without stopping, a far more dangerous idea ignites in his mind. Travelers cross this desert every day by the thousands, all of them desperate for the same relief. If he digs a proper well and sells them this water, the desert itself will make him rich. As Mia regains her senses, the young woman gently explains that she and her baby are safe now. For the first time in countless days, Mia no longer hears crashing steel, gunfire, or violent waves. Instead, she is surrounded by compassionate strangers who risked everything to save 2 lives from the open sea. Tears of overwhelming relief stream down her face as she clutches her daughter, realizing that every impossible decision, every painful sacrifice, and every desperate act of courage had been worth it. Yet even in this moment of salvation, one painful truth remains. Chuck will never return. The man who gave her hope until his final breath is gone forever, leaving behind only his daughter and the memories of his love. Looking into her baby's innocent eyes, Mia understands why she never gave up. Through hunger, thirst, storms, loneliness, and unimaginable loss, this tiny child became the reason she chose life over surrender. Against every impossible obstacle, a mother's determination proves stronger than fear, stronger than despair, and even stronger than death itself. As the fishing boat carries them toward a new beginning, Mia silently leaves the nightmare behind, knowing that while she lost the love of her life, she protected the future he died believing in. Thus ends the extraordinary story of survival, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. Nick begins digging a shallow grave for the dead man, the only burial this lonely place will ever give. Suddenly, footsteps crunch across the sand behind him. In an instant, the rifle is back in his hands, aimed at the approaching figure. But it is no enemy, only a traveling priest in dusty black hands raised in surrender, a white cloth fluttering in the wind as a desperate signal of peace. Nick lowers the weapon and lets the man approach. The priest, knowing nothing of the new rules of this well, kneels gratefully toward the water to quench his thirst. Once more the rifle rises. Nick's voice is ice. 10 cents for a single spoonful of water. Pay now or be sent straight to God. The priest recoils in moral shock, trying to reason with him, pleading that exploiting a man's desperation is a sin, that Nick must abandon this cruel path. The words fall on stone. With the black mouth of the gun pointed at his heart, the priest has no choice. He digs into his pocket, produces the 10 cents, and places the coins into Nick's waiting hand. The first real profit of the Desert Empire has been earned, and the priest has just drunk the most expensive spoonful of water in his life. As the priest finishes drinking, a new thought takes root in his own mind. This well could become something far larger. He turns to Nick with a bold offer. $10 for the entire claim. When Nick hesitates, the priest adds a quiet threat. Refuse, and he will ride to town and tell the authorities that Nick is running a business without permission on land that is not his. The words strike like a match. Nick's temper detonates. He empties the pistol into the sand around the priest's feet, the shots ringing out in deliberate near misses meant only to terrify. Then, strangely, the fury drains away and is replaced by something colder and smarter. Nick actually thanks the priest. The threat has reminded him of the one thing he had forgotten. ownership, legitimacy. He leaves the desert at once and rides hard for the nearest town, heading straight to the land office. There he claims the surrounding desert acreage as his own. The government clerk sees only worthless, empty waste where nothing can live, and sells Nick nearly 2 square miles for a handful of cents, a price so low it feels like a joke. Nick has no idea that this single cheap purchase is about to rewrite the entire course of his life. With the deed safely in his name, Nick walks into the town bank, empty-handed. Every last coin he possessed has already gone into the land. He needs capital to turn the well into a real business, and he needs it now. The bank manager listens to the plan and laughs in open contempt. A water business in the dead heart of the desert? The man must be insane. Nick answers without words. He lifts the glass of water sitting on the manager's desk and hurls the contents straight into the man's face. Then, dripping with cold fury, he lays out the offer, a loan in exchange for 1/3 of every future profit from the well. The manager still refuses, ordering Nick thrown out into the street. Years of gold prospectors have combed every inch of that desert, the manager sneers. If water existed, someone else would have found it long ago. But Nick does not know how to quit. He goes next to a private moneylender. At first, the lender demands collateral. Nick no longer has. Just as Nick turns to leave in defeat, the man calls him back and asks the simple question that changes everything. Why would anyone want a loan with nothing to put up? Nick tells the whole story. The wet sand, the well, the travelers who will pay. The moneylender studies Nick's eyes and hears no lie. Compassion or calculation moves him. He places a stack of bills into Nick's hand and tells him to go build his empire. Cash in hand for the first time, Nick heads out to buy construction materials and supplies. As he steps from the store, his gaze locks on a strikingly beautiful woman standing across the street. She smiles and beckons him with a soft wave of her hand. In that moment, Nick believes luck itself has finally turned in his favor. He follows her upstairs without hesitation. The woman plays the part of warmth and welcome perfectly, yet beneath the performance she is nearly gagging from the thick desert stench that clings to Nick's unwashed body. Her true goal is the money still folded in his pocket. She forces herself through the motions, bathing him, scrubbing the filth from his skin, making him presentable. The moment he is clean and dressed, Nick gathers his things and walks out without leaving a single coin. The woman stares after him in pure disbelief. Then rage floods her face. She seizes a nearby chamber pot and hurls it after him with all her strength. The pot shatters. Nick is already gone. That same night, however, Nick returns. He has spent good money buying an identical new pot, which he places in her hands as repayment. Softly, almost shyly, he apologizes for the insult and makes her an offer that changes the air between them. Come with him into the desert and become the mistress of the place he is building. The word mistress lights a fire behind the woman's eyes. She imagines an end to poverty, a life of ease and comfort far from the hard streets of town. The next morning, she packs everything she owns and travels with Nick into the heart of the desert. The moment she sees the reality waiting for her, every dream shatters. The so-called inn is a crude shack pieced together from scrap tin and rotting wood. Even the eating utensils are nailed to the wooden tables so customers cannot steal them. Poverty and hardship stare from every corner. She turns on Nick in bitter disappointment, declaring she came to be a lady of the house, not to suffer in a junk heap. Nick cannot bear the thought of her leaving. He throws himself into furious work, clearing the filth, throwing out the broken pots, rearranging the sparse rooms until something resembling order appears. He even rides back to town and returns with a soft, gentle donkey as a further peace offering. Slowly, his effort begins to win her over. She agrees to stay a little longer. And then time itself begins to move differently. Day after day, new travelers arrive, pay for water, pay for food, pay for a night's shelter. Money flows in a steady, growing stream. The woman's eyes change as she watches the coins pile up. What once looked like misery is becoming opportunity. Before long, the woman makes a firm decision. She and Nick marry. After the wedding, their lives settle into a clear division of labor. She keeps the house and cooks, while he expands the water business with relentless energy. Within only a few months, Nick's fortune has transformed completely. He becomes the most successful man in the entire region. The inn is never empty. Customers crowd the place from morning until night, and the money multiplies without end. The same bank manager who once called him a madman now watches from afar with pure envy burning in his chest. Unable to stand it, the manager gathers his own men and rides into the desert to dig for water of his own. Days of exhausting labor produce nothing, not a single drop. Defeated and bitter, the manager finally comes to Nick and offers $500 as an investment, hoping to claim a share of the growing empire. Nick accepts the money without anger or gloating. With the new capital, he buys even more of the surrounding desert, ensuring that every traveler who passes must cross his land and pay for water. Cattle farms rise. The business swells into something vast. Nick's wife, once a poor woman of the streets, now spends her days in luxury, counting money while reclining on soft beds. Both of them begin to believe this golden life will last forever. Fate, however, has other plans. One bright afternoon, two dangerous bandits ride up to the inn. They have heard the stories of Nick's wealth and have come in broad daylight to take it by force. Luck is with the couple that day. Neither Nick nor his wife is home. The bandits ransack every room, tearing through chests and corners in search of a hidden fortune. They find nothing. Then one of them notices a patch of sand near the well that looks freshly disturbed. Greed lights their faces. They dig. Feet. Yards. Deeper and deeper until a shovel suddenly rings against metal. Joy explodes between them. Treasure at last. Their celebration is short-lived. Nick appears as if from the empty air itself. He had known they would come. He had deliberately buried a few coins as bait and hidden his true wealth far away, leaving the bandits to exhaust themselves chasing a decoy. When the truth sinks in, the two men erupt in furious gunfire, spraying bullets toward the sound of Nick's voice. The shooting stops. They believe they have killed him. Cautiously, they climb out of the hole to look for the body and walk straight into the trap Nick has prepared. The moment the bandits clear the rim of the pit, Nick hurls a writhing mass of venomous snakes down into the hole they have just left. Panic and screams fill the air as both men leap desperately clear of the sudden death below. Nick is already waiting with his rifle leveled. He orders them to strip off every piece of clothing and walk naked into the open desert with nothing. The taller of the two bandits explodes with rage. He knows exactly what that order means. Certain death by thirst and sun. He lunges for a weapon, determined to kill Nick before the sentence can be carried out. Nick is faster. A single shot drops the tall bandit dead in the sand. The remaining older man collapses to his knees, trembling, begging for his life. In that same moment, a motor car appears on the distant road.